Now, the biggest story this weekend was the anti-corruption rally where tens of thousands of Filipinos took to the streets demanding accountability. The key flashpoint, the 100 billion peso flood control scandal, first revealed by the president himself back in August. Now, this isn't just politics. The economic cost is staggering. Billions lost to ghost projects and leakages, jobs not created, infrastructure left unbuilt, investor confidence damaged. To help us understand the dynamics at play and their impact on the economy, we're joined by political strategist Lito Banayo. Hi, Lito. Thank you for being here with us.
Good morning, Mikey. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, so much to talk about. Lito, we talk a lot about growth on this show. Our numbers, people say they look so good on paper, but they aren't feeling it on the streets. Businessmen have asked that, and we have asked many about this. Is the answer because of all the leakages, because of the money that isn't being plowed back into the economy? What are your thoughts, Lito?
Well, to begin with, even the World Bank years back estimated that 20% of our budget goes to corruption. At least 20%, they said. It may have worsened over the past few years with all these insertions and all these ghost projects and flood control and other infrastructure projects now. So sometimes you can't feel but compassion for even those rioters last Sunday, no? I mean, young people, probably desperate. No? If they were paid probably a few hundred pesos, even 1,000 pesos. But to them, it was also pent-up fury at the oppression that they feel, the economic oppression. No? Them living in slum areas and all that, while they see over social media, no, the children of the corrupt people living it up, no, in lavish lifestyles. Nakakagalit yun eh. And even the ordinary people, even those of us who have enough, at least for our needs, no? We get mad at that.
Yeah,
no?
galit na galit ang mga
sobra,
tao.
no?
And it cuts across all socio-economic classes.
Yeah.
Hindi
all
lang
classes.
yung masa. Everybody is upset at this. When you talk about the numbers, the Ateneo School of Governance just released fresh figures with a review. It shows that the flood control budget nearly doubled from 128 billion in 2022 to 254 billion in 2025. Yet many projects turned out to be ghost projects. When budgets double but results don't materialize, what does this tell investors about the quality of governance in the country today?
Bad. I mean, very, very clearly, it's a failure of implementation of projects. And people know it because they've seen the floods. No? They've been victimized by the floods. No? And juxtaposed against the budget of 2025, which already had such a major scandal in December last year and up to the first few months of the year, no? Na-revive na naman yan because people saw that ang laki-laki ng budget pero walang epekto sa kanila. No?
Let's talk about the budget process. Businessmen argue that what we're seeing now is the new pork. Dati may PDAF, may Priority Development Assistance Fund, which was capped at a couple of 100 million per lawmaker. What they say is since tinanggal yon, the lawmakers had to get creative. And the creative loophole they found was through the insertions, because through the insertions, wala nang limit, wala pang guardrails. What do you think about this, and is this position so much more dangerous now?
Just so the public will get a backgrounder, no? During President Cory's time, it was 30 million per congressman. Pork, no? I mean, you select your pet projects, no? And it's funded for a hating kapatid, they call it in Tagalog, hating kapatid, equal sharing at 30 million. It became 50 during President FVR's time. Under 70 million under ERAP, 100 million under GMA. But all of this was, hating kapatid. Then during Pinoy's time, the Supreme Court outlawed the PDAF, which that was the new name. And during Cory's time, it was Countryside Development Funds. No? Then it became development assistance funds, yung PDAP nga, no? Which was outlawed by the Supreme Court. But through the years, our crooked officials saw ways and means by which to still come up with this time they call it insertions. But aside from that, dun pa lang sa national expenditure budget, or the NEP, no, which is submitted by the President through the DBM to Congress, meron na rin pinasok yung mga congressmen. Because in cahoots with DPWH, just focus on DPWH for now, sa DPWH pa lang, kausap na nila yung district engineers who submit proposals to the regional office and the regional office to the central office. And these are all incorporated in what the DPWH submits to the DBM. Doon pa lang meron ng kuntsabahan, meron ng usapan yung mga congressmen, mga senador na iba with the DPWH officials. So the DBM submits this. Meron ng built-in na dyan na pork. Pagkatapos in the insertions, it becomes worse, no, during the deliberations. But worst, the worst is when it gets to the BICAM. Because in the BICAM, no, the Senate also the senators also have to have their cuts and all that. And nobody knows what happens in the BICAM. No, it is absolutely opaque. No media coverage, no reports, not even in writing. No? So nakikita na lang natin yan pagdating sa GAA when it's already a done
General
deal.
Appropriations Committee. Yeah.
See? So it's really corrupted from step one to the final step.
It's such a mess. Yeah. How do we begin to fix this with accountability and transparency, Lito?
Well, to begin with, no, when you have a credible, honest, and truly transparent and strong leader, sabihin na natin, there were faults like Mambasapano and all that, but during the time of President Pinoy, there was, I mean, except for that PDAF, that was related to the Corona impeachment, no? These ghost projects were not unheard of, no?
Yeah.
Ngayon na lang lumalabas yan, no? So it really means, to my mind, sadly, the President BBM must have trusted his cousin, first cousin, former Speaker Martin Romualdez, completely. Bahala na siya, no? And this is what happened. Probably Martin Romualdez naman trusted Saldico to do everything else. This is what we have. No?
Speaking of what we have, going back to Ateneo's figures, Ateneo reports that the Office of the President's budget has ballooned by 461% since 2016, now costing taxpayers 43.4 million pesos a day. Why has governance become so much more expensive while household incomes lag to inflation?
Well, I don't know if the Ateneo School of Government factored in pa yung President's Social Fund, which is not also touched by COA or not audited by COA. The PSF comes from PAGCOR remittances and PCSO. That must be on top of what comes in the budget.
Yeah.
On top pa yon, no?
Yeah.
And as far as Congress is concerned, they never questioned
They don't question
President's
the President's
submission, neither the Vice President until Sara Duterte, no? The VPs also. So, wala parliamentary courtesy daw. That's what happens, no? We don't know really how they spend it, no?
Yeah. Okay. Going to, it's not just the President's office, it's the House budget. It's jumped 280%. The Senate's nearly tripled, and billions more, diverted to the President's office. What are your thoughts on these exponential increases?
It's all up to the leadership, really. Congressman Toby Chanco told me the other day that the office of the Speaker under former Speaker Martin Romualdez had a confidential fund, no, of 100 million a month. I mean, he had freedom to dispose of that much, no. That is mind-boggling.
Yeah,
No?
it's mind-boggling.
So how much for the Senate President? Probably a little less because there are only 24 senators. But this shows in the way, as you said, exponentially,
Yeah.
the growth in exponential growth in the expenditures of the Office of the President, the Office of the Speaker, the Office of the Senate President.
Okay, going to what we can do proactively, what are the institutional safeguards that can realistically curb corruption? We hear very horrible reports. We hear documents. The ICI has flagged the widespread destruction of public documents that have to do with the flood control project. And then you hear reports. FPI Chair Beth Lee spoke on the show last week of the Asin tactic at the Bureau of Customs, wherein they sabotage automation by throwing fine salt, pouring fine salt over computer keyboards so they rust from within. Beyond that, rubbing food and putting food near electrical outlets so the rats eat the cables. The destruction from within, what does that say about our ability to govern and to do a good job, the will to change the system?
Frankly, it's mind-boggling. It's too shocking because what has happened is when they see that the agency head abuses his power and his influence, no, then everybody down the line follows in their own small way. No? Sa customs, di ba? Everybody who has dealt with customs knows that the gravy is spread all the way down to the security guard or the customs police. No?
Yeah.
They even have, I don't know if it's still continuing, they even have the Friday rule where Friday, that's when the gravy is distributed according to your rank or your status. No? I mean, but that is happening in so many other government
at least everybody's
offices.
talking about it now, and so much so that hopefully something is done to curb or to quash this institutional resistance.
Yeah, but again, it all starts also with the way we elect our leaders. No, my family has been in Butuan City for the longest time, no, because of business, no. But although we're not originally from there, I recall my mother telling me that the first instance of vote buying was sometime in 1960s when a candidate for mayor of Butuan bought votes at 20 pesos apiece. No? These days, for instance, I am told that in Caraga region, especially in the mining areas of Surigao, they go as high as 7,000 pesos per voter. So, yung politiko na namili ng boto, ang tingin niya, wala siyang utang na loob dun sa mandate niya, dun sa boto ng tao. Because binili ko naman, I bought my position. And having bought my position, I have to recover and even make a profit. So it has gone through the years, no? So that is, we see that in the lifestyles of their kids, no? Of their families, no?
Yeah.
Kasi nga, wala, and nobody gets punished eh. No? Remember the Napoles scandal,
Yes,
no?
yes.
Sino na-punish?
The low-hanging fruit,
the
siya lang,
low-hanging fruit,
si Janet
yung chief of
Napoles.
staff, si Napoles, and the chief of staff who even died in prison, no?
Yeah.
Chief of staff, Senator Bong Revilla, di ba? Ganon eh. And then we re-elect them to office.
Yeah.
Di ba? So, the culture of impunity has become so widespread
It's a
that
historical
people
lack
have
of
given up.
accountability.
The people have given up, and that is why what happened last Sunday is such parang an injection of hope, no? Na sana magpatuloy. Sana we keep being active in looking at how accountability in this government is done, no?
And the
Insisting
role
on
of the people,
transparency.
Lito, citizen empowerment.
Yeah.
We can't help but it's a beautiful thing. A lot of the lifestyle checks on the Nepo babies, that came to light because of the citizenry that stepped up and reported what they saw was wrong. How important is citizen empowerment in Philippine politics today to help keep our officials accountable and honest?
right now, it is the only way we can keep them accountable and honest, no? Especially with social media is now so prevalent, no? So even if let us assume that some quarters in traditional media or in quad are bought by the politicians, no? Social media is different, no? Although of course there are trolls, no? But by keeping the flames of outrage alive, no? Malaking bagay yon, no? I'll look at even the banking system. How can you withdraw billions of pesos or hundreds of millions of pesos? Everybody saw very graphically the piles of 1,000 peso bundles in the, no. How are they able to withdraw that from the banking system? The DPWH, like any other government agencies, only use two banks, Land Bank and the Development Bank of the Philippines, because these are government depositories, no? So the contractor must have gotten his check from the DPWH from either Land Bank or DBP or both, as in whichever is the depository. Paano na-withdraw yung hundreds of millions of pesos, no?
The money trail.
The money trail, no?
Yeah.
And that is something that the ICI should look into, no? Hindi lang DPWH, pati yung Land Bank and DBP, no? Yung mga branch managers that were involved, no? How did they violate Bangko Sentral rules, no? Speaking of Bangko Sentral, I hear that they keep printing money, no? Why do we spend so much, or why does Bangko Sentral spend so much on printing notes, bank notes? Because they're no longer hidden in the banks. Because if they're in the banks, they circulate. Now they're in vaults or in condominium units that are filled with cash. No? So, because of that, ang laki ng gastos ng BSP sa reprinting ng banknotes. No?
Their own private stash.
Kasi may biruan nga, Mikey, na kaya daw ginawang polymer instead of paper. Kasi yung paper inaanay, yung polymer hindi.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Lito, on another front, tens of thousands rallied against corruption over the weekend. It was a beautiful demonstration that this is not okay. Both the Senate and the House Speaker stepped down because of the public backlash with all of this. How does this kind of public pressure translate to pressure for Malacanang and for the President himself?
Well, the President kasi, I suppose, was shocked when he realized that the flood control projects that he was so proud of in 2024 during the SONA, he said 5,500 flood control projects, and then saw that the floods became worse, no? So that's probably when he started looking at backtracking and came up, I mean, he was siguro out of exasperation, the mahiya naman kayo words that he uttered before the congressmen, no, and the senators, no, and that started it, no, because everybody listens to the SONA. If the president himself is shocked at the level of corruption, then truly that something must be wrong.
Yeah, no? Lito, governance, it matters so much for businesses and investors. What kind of pressure does this put on the president's political capital and his ability to lead over these next 3 years?
The problem is, if the president is seriously looking at legacy, he cannot, I suppose, given the constraints, look at economic progress or major infrastructure as legacy. Why? We are hobbled by a 17.3 trillion debt, which is likely to be about 17.7 by the end of the year. That is growing exponentially also. By the end of 2027, it's estimated to be 21 to 22 trillion pesos. No? But the world economy is bad. I mean, like even now, the president of the Export Confederation of the Philippines is saying that our exports are already affected, no? because of the Trump tariff. So all of these uncertainties will impact on our trade. It will increase our trade deficit because our consumption still has to continue. And we're importing practically everything,
It's a
from
very,
rice to
yeah.
fruits to everything. No?
It's a very delicate position,
Very delicate
especially
situation.
amidst the global headwinds. Lito,
Yeah.
one last
So
question.
wala tayong wala magagawa na on infrastructure or concrete legacies. The only legacy is sana seryosohin yung anti-corruption. That is the only thing that can salvage this particular government's legacy.
Yeah. Okay, Lito, one last question. How does the flood control scandal, how is this scandal changing the landscape for the 2028 presidential elections? That's just around the corner. Apart from the typical names that we see, you know, trying to step up to that plate, a lot of coverage has gone to Benjamin Magalong, Vince Dizon, Toby Tiangco. These people have shown courage. What have they shown you during this particular junction?
I would suggest to my pollster friends, no, please, the next time you talk about 2028 potential presidentiables, include these names. Toby Tiangco, Benji Magalong, Vince Dizon, and other younger people. Because after all, 60% of the voters are either Gen Z or millennials. No? So this is the future. It is their future that ako, senior citizen ako, no? Yun na lang inaatupag natin, sana naman gumanda ang kanilang kinabukasan, no? So, let's look beyond the usual names. Let's look beyond the Tulfos, no? The Dutertes, the everybody else, and start focusing on young people, those who have shown courage as well as inspired us by their integrity.
All right. Thank you so much, Lito Banayo, for sharing your thoughts on all of this and more with us.
Thank you also, Mikey. Always a pleasure.
All right.